Welcome to the Rotary Club of Beaumont and this special meeting of our club. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. We'll ask you to please mute your microphone if you haven't done so already. And please, you might get a better experience today if you'll change your view over in the right-hand corner to speaker view. We have some really neat things planned, and that brings the face of the person who's speaking right up onto the screen so you can see it better. So mute your microphone and change to speaker view before we get started. Today, our invocation will be led by Deborah Drago, Executive Director of Southeast Texas Nonprofit Development Center. And our pledges will be led by Lois Ann Stanton, our first female president and past president of the Rotary Club of Beaumont. Deborah?
Thank you, Madam President. In a time of physical distancing, let's pray together to unite our hearts and minds as we seek to give thanks for women in leadership, especially our speaker and fellow Rotarians, and their impact on our communities and the world. Let us pray. Gracious God, we pray for ourselves and all women as leaders. Give us and them open hearts and opportunities to serve. Give us and them listening hearts so that your words flow through us as we talk, teach, serve, and lead. Give us and them the courage to step outside of our plans and programs if you have another plan for us to take, and the discipline to stay on course amidst distraction and interruption. Give us and them patience, endurance, and fortitude. Keep us and them healthy, rested, and full of joy from beginning to end. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to our nation's flag and to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the country for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Now, with an introduction of guests, we have Uliana Terlowski, past chair of the Beaumont Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees. Uliana.
Thank you. Today joining us, we have Shelley Hill, Major Gifts Officer with the Rotary Foundation. We have Mr. John Hathaway, past District Governor. Amy Kilgore, District 5910 Trainer. We have Bobby Chapman, the District Grants Chair. Karen Chapman, Assistant Governor. Natasha Garrett, also Assistant Governor and President of the Rotary Club of Orange. And last but not least, Pat Anderson, Assistant Governor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Uliana. Now to introduce our program, Jennifer Gregory, Resource Officer at Beaumont Housing Authority and International Women's Day Chair.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending our International Women's Day celebration. International Women's Day is designated as March 8th and is a time for celebration and reflection. We take this time to recognize the influences of women in the social, economic, and cultural areas of our community and the importance of the contributions of women all across the world. Though 2020 and now 2021 have had their fair share of challenges, women have continued to step up and make history. Some examples include Hamilton Bennett, Senior Director of Vaccines at Moderna, who pushed her company to take on the challenge of creating a vaccine for COVID-19, which will now save lives. Also, Gitanjali Rao, a 15-year-old Indian American scientist and inventor who was named Time Magazine's first ever Kid of the Year for creating a water contamination tool in response for the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. Women in Rotary is also a perfect example of how all organizations benefit from the inclusion of women. Both our president, Cindy Cherry, and District Governor Becky Mason have stepped up to the plate to run their club and district amid a pandemic, working hard to get their respective groups engaged and back to service while also keeping everyone safe. And let us not forget that history was made in 2020 when Rotarian Jennifer Jones was named Rotary International President nominee and will become the first ever woman president of Rotary International. We are proud of Jennifer and grateful to have her as a member of our club. Now we would like to take a moment to recognize the women leaders of the Rotary Club of Beaumont. The first female member of the Rotary Club of Beaumont was longtime Executive Director Margaret Chur, who officially became a member of the club on August 26, 1987. 10 years later, in 1997, Lois Ann Stanton became the first female president of the Rotary Club of Beaumont. Other past women presidents include Maureen Gray, 2004 to 2005, Angela Baker, 2007 to 2008, Roberta Applegate, 2010-2011, Becky Mason, who is our current district governor and served as our club president in 2012-2013, Lynn Castle, 2019-2020, our current president, Cindy Cherry, and in 2022, Joanne Brown will follow Cindy as the 8th female president of the Rotary Club of Beaumont. As we reflect on our continuous progress and many contributions over the years, we also look to the future and challenge ourselves to continue to do extraordinary things here at home and around the world. And through Rotary, we know the impossible is made possible. So let us continue to dream big and inspire others along the way. And now, some of our members of the Rotary Club of Beaumont would like to share a poem in honor of International Women's Day.
Today is a celebration for women all around the world.
Ladies who dared to dream big ever since they were little girls.
For the diversity and talents that lie within a feminine heart.
For the courage and determination that prevents us falling apart.
We can raise families and build businesses and be proud of all we've achieved.
Where once over, visions of that scale could never have been believed.
Ladies, stand up and be counted. Smile at how far we've come.
And cherish every single day as daughter, wife, companion, or mom.
Don't let anybody tell you that there are set paths for you to follow.
As a little girl with a passion is an inspiring woman of tomorrow.
So celebrate all women and acknowledge the great things they do.
And tell the lady close to your heart just how much she means to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to all the ladies who presented today. And now I would like to introduce past president and current district governor Becky Mason to introduce today's speaker.
It is such an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to introduce my friend Suzi Howe. She's Rotary International Director for 2020 to 2022 for our zone. She's from the Space Center Rotary Club in Houston, and she was governor of 5890, the Houston district, in 2006 and 2007. And that was the year that Chuck was supposed to be governor, but of course Hurricane Rita intervened and that didn't happen. He had to push back, but in the preparation phase, as we went through all the training activities, we got to know Suzi and got to be friends with her. And we realized what a friend she is to us, to Rotary, and to so many people all around the world. And some of the things that I think about when I think about Suzi Howe is strategic, connections, and building a team. When you're talking to Suzi Howe, she's always engaged in the conversation, but she's always thinking about, who do I need to introduce you to? Who do I need to introduce to you, and ways that people can make connections and make more things happen. And she has such a unique skill for that. It's just really, it's really neat to be able to be a part of that. So Suzi dedicated her career to education. She graduated from the University of Kansas. She owned and operated the South Shore Montessori School. It was a private school in League City until her 2019 retirement. At that point, I think she went Rotary full-time. She was introduced to Rotary many years ago when she was building her school, the South Shore Montessori School. And as it turned out, the people that she was working with were Rotarians. The builder of the school, her broker, her architect, and many others, they were all Rotarians. And within 6 months of joining her Rotary Club in 1992, they asked her to serve on the board. And that was a no-brainer because she's just a real doer. So Suzi is passionate about training and all things educational. She has been a training leader for the district, the zone, and internationally. She's a member of the Rotary Leadership Training and Development Committee, and they're the ones who developed the curriculum in the Rotary International Learning Center. She has been a regional foundation coordinator. She's a host committee advisor for the 2022 RI Convention in Houston. She is vice chair of the End Polio Now Countdown to History Challenge Committee. In 2005, Suzi received the Dome City Award on behalf of the Houston area Rotarians for her running the logistics for the 650 Rotarian volunteers at the Houston Astrodome who helped 250,000 Hurricane Katrina evacuees from New Orleans for a 3-week period. Suzi is an impressive fundraiser. She's organized 3 separate $1 million dinners, the last one raising $3.8 million for the Rotary Foundation. And I guess a little perk for me for the pandemic was that we were about to get started on a $1 million dinner for our district this year while I was governor. And then with all the shutdown and everything, it went virtual. But anyway, she's just been a great inspiration for all of us. And as Suzi says, and it's very true, if you make contact with me, I will be asking you to make a contribution. And it is true. Suzi has received almost every award that Rotary offers, and she and Bill are Arch Clump Society and Bequest Society members, and in other words, committed regular supporters of the Rotary International Foundation. And last but certainly not least, Suzi has been the driving force behind the Beaumont Rotary Club's successful Women in Rotary series. Each year, she strategically introduced me to women who are current and future leaders of Rotary International. Our first was Ann Matthews, who was the first Rotary International Rotary International board member. Jennifer Jones, who is slated to be the first woman president of Rotary International, and she's currently president nominee. And I remember, I think we were in Denver, Suzi, if that was correct, and she said, Becky, I need to introduce you to somebody. She's somebody that you're going to want to have for your series. And sure enough, it was Jennifer Jones. And I had no idea at the time what a great opportunity that was and how we developed a great friendship. And of course, she has been to our club and visited with us. Sylvia Whitlock, who was the first woman Rotarian. And then last year we had Dean Roars, the Rotary International Vice President. And that was just right before the lockdown, the shutdown. And she stayed with us. All of those women have stayed with us when they came to Beaumont. And so Dean was the last person who really was in our house besides us. And it's really kind of weird to think about that. But anyway, now please help me welcome the embodiment of women in Rotary, Suzi Howe.
Thank you so much, Becky. That was a great introduction. I loved it. You don't need to talk now. We're done.
You want me to send you a copy?
It was so funny. I had to get up and go get this picture.
Oh, yay!
On Lake Michigan with Chuck and Becky one of the only times I have ever sat and relaxed. My husband had to capture that with his camera. It was such a big occasion.
Oh,
So
wow.
that sits in our dining room. Thank you, Becky, for reminding me of that. And yes, to follow in the footsteps of past Rotary International Vice President Ann Matthews, past Rotary International Vice President Dean Roars, President nominee Jennifer Jones, and so many more. I'm truly honored that it's now my turn. Rotary has changed so much since the early days of Women in Rotary, and all of us here today are thankful for the leadership of District Governor Becky and President Cindy Cherry. And yes, I'm always making connections. So Lois, when you go back to Austin, please greet all of the PDGs and tell them I said hi and have they contributed to polio this year. So hopefully next year we'll all meet in person. I think that day is coming. But for now, let's enjoy each other's company. And I've switched my view to gallery because I need the eye contact. I can't talk to myself on the screen. I start making these odd faces. I don't know if it happens to y'all. So from time to time, if you would give me a thumbs up or roll your eyes, wink, nod, whatever. So I know that there are warm bodies out there. That will help a lot. Thank you. Very nice, Jennifer. So make sure you take the time to read. Yes, I'm good at show and tells. Take the time to read your Rotary magazine because there's a picture of somebody you're going to love. It's Texas Rotarian Jennifer Gillen Fuller, a nurse in a COVID unit in the Texas Medical Center where her patient could not speak English. The patient pointed to the bracelet that her dad had given her, similar to mine, with the Rotary dangle. Her dad is past sister Governor Gary Gillen, and he gave it to her when she joined the Richmond Rotary Club. The patient pointed to her bracelet and said, not English speaking, Rotary. Jen said the symbol made him recognize the kind of human I must be. Think about that person that invited you to join Rotary. Think about the gift of Rotary that someone gave to you. That's the gift you want to give to someone else in your community. So I retitled this chat, Becoming a More Effective Leader. And I pulled out my Texas Atlas, huge, because we've got a roadmap today and our first stop is going to be League City. Anybody here from League City? Oh, good. Yep. So I joined Rotary because I needed to make connections. All those people that I needed to talk to while I was building my school belonged to Space Center Rotary. It was a challenge for me. It was a 5,500 square foot building on property in the master plan community of South Shore Harbor and League City. And I wanted to meet the community leaders and develop my professional skills. You know, you can go to Rotary and talk to lawyers and CPAs for free. And I wanted to find opportunities to volunteer as I had before I moved to Texas. I had appointments with banks to get a loan, but they wouldn't let me pass the lobby into the office. So ultimately, one banker agreed to meet with me. One of the bank board members said, I know Suzi Howe. She is a great businesswoman. My child is in her school. I got the loan. And after that, I was featured in their advertising and served on their advisory board. I was building my Rotary resume and making connections because of Rotary. I saw Rotary was a great organization because I attended Space Center's Shrimpery every year. Before they had women in Rotary, I was attending it. And it was fascinating. There was live music, live auction. A lot of community leaders were there. And they were raising money to help the community, just like your club and your district does. Scholarships for high school and college students, awards for Teacher of the Year, Police Officer of the Year, and providing networking for other professionals. I wanted to contribute because I grew up contributing and volunteering. I led a remedial reading project in the inner city of Kansas City, Kansas. I got together a diverse group of high school kids from all over the city to work together to tutor young children. And that really made an impression on me. Later, I served as president of Armand Bayou Nature Center, the largest urban preserve in the US, when they were ready to close their gates because there was no funding. It wasn't a government-funded site. So I brought together community leaders, chemical plant managers, naturalists, and philanthropists. Today, that 2,500 acres are a natural wetland forest, a restored tall grass prairie preserve, and marsh habitats. And this prepared me for Rotary's newest area of focus, the environment. I agreed to serve on their board at the Nature Center so that Rotary would have a presence. There was no Rotarian on their board. And one of the secrets to my success, I learned to fundraise my fundraising skills from the ladies of the Houston High Society that were on the Nature Center board and used to raising big money in Houston. Oh my gosh, what I learned. So pretty much I learned you can do anything. You can ask anybody for money. You don't just ask, you show them the need and then just kind of step back. That worked for me. So becoming an effective Rotary leader, roadmap, the second stop is Chinandega, Nicaragua. I was so excited at every step of the way. As president of Space Center Rotary, I wanted my club to receive that presidential citation. To do this, we needed an international project. There had been Hurricane Mitch that destroyed the economy of Nicaragua. To get the citation, I planned a trip to see for myself the devastation and bring the story back to my club. So I was sitting in at Pets, like many of y'all have done, and we went around the table and shared what the club projects were. And I was somewhat embarrassed because when they got to me, my club of 185 people, our projects served the affluent with projects like Teacher of the Year, Police Officer of the Year, etc. So I decided to better understand an international project that addressed the basic human needs, or we weren't going to get our presidential citation. A group of Rotarians were going to Nicaragua to visit the project sites after Hurricane Mitch devastated the country. I decided to join. I announced to the leader that I did not need to see poverty because I had seen poverty before. I was looking for a service project. So our first stop the next morning was at the city dump, where the cows and the children were foraging through the garbage for anything they could eat, use, or resell. The stench was horrible. I took it for as long as I could and I returned to the van. And when I arrived back at the van, I found that another Rotarian had given away my Ozarka water bottle. And that irritated me because I was thirsty. But I learned what had happened. The children that had approached our van when we arrived were not begging for money, as I thought. They were begging for that half-empty water bottle. By the time we left Nicaragua that first trip, someone else had taken on the water well project for the community. Space Center Rotary Club built a kidney dialysis clinic to serve people affected by the contaminated drinking water, and that building stands today. What I did not realize at the time was the impact I would have on the children of the dump by returning home to share the story, to tell others how the children lived with no hope of an education, nutrition, or basic skills. Now those children have schools. Their parents live in micro-farming communities, and the women have microcredit businesses and access to maternity homes stocked with supplies just like your Layettes of Love from District 5910, because I follow that project. And I am most proud to say that we have been able to repeat the projects successfully in other areas of Nicaragua. So other than recruiting a new friend to Rotary, giving the gift of Rotary, your next assignment number 2, you are all Rotary leaders. Surround yourselves with good people. Set your vision, then lead by example. And it's not bragging because your communities will see what you are doing. Just tell the stories. So, literacy was my passion from the beginning. We were promoting literacy with Rotary matching grants, global grants, international grants, and district grants, where Rotary districts and clubs partnered to build bigger projects to meet the needs of the community. We partnered with Brazil. 6 clubs for 6 grants in Sao Paulo, from computers to classroom equipment, from preschool children to high school kids. In Mexico, we helped with an orphanage in the mountains. You know, my district conference was in Puerto Vallarta, but I knew I wanted a service project while we were there. So we had an old school bus, windows didn't even go up. I took 22 exchange students, all of our exchange students went with us. And instead of taking the Rotarians on that bus to visit the orphanage, I filled it first with all the exchange students. And then Rotarians could fit in. On the way up the cobblestone road, up the mountain, up to where the orphanage was, way out of town, one of the advisors came to me and said, "Suze, these kids want to know why they have to go to this orphanage." So right then I knew that's why they had to go to the orphanage, to see service, because apparently they weren't getting enough of it at their clubs. We get to the orphanage and we get the tour, we meet the kids. You know, a lot of our exchange students didn't speak Spanish, but you have a ball to throw back and forth, it doesn't matter. You want to know the last kid back on the bus to go back down the hill was the one that had the concern about going. He did not want to leave those kids at the orphanage. They had made such a difference. The next literacy project I want to tell you about is that we partnered with our Rotary Peace Fellow, Pamela Broussard, who lives here in Houston. She was working in Afghanistan. She brought us a school. We raised money to return 37 girls back to school. Now you picture where you would be if you hadn't gone to school, what your life would be like. Oh my gosh. And right here at home in the East End of Houston, we worked to establish a Montessori preschool for at-risk children. And there were 3 requirements for their parents. 1, they must be working on their GED if they did not have it. They must be involved in vocational training if they did not have a job. And 3, they must be attending an ESL class, English as a second language. It was fascinating to watch that classroom flourish, hosted in a building originally that was a YWCA. We also raised funds for a soccer field in the East End by partnering with the Houston Dynamo Soccer Team Foundation. So number 3, your assignment is do a needs assessment. You don't have to keep doing the same service projects. Think about your newer members. What are they interested in? What would they like to participate in? And how could you involve them in what's going on better? So our roadmap stop number 4, becoming a more effective leader. Houston Intercontinental Airport. You all have been there, right? So as District of 5890, oh my gosh, we had the year my husband says it's not bragging if it's a fact. The year I was governor, we had the highest increase in foundation giving and the highest increase in membership. It's a fact. So then we also had a project, the tree planting project. Oh my gosh. It was a district-wide project, and the Parks Department was going to come in and plow up the median of Will Clayton Parkway so we could plant trees. So they came in and did that. And that night it rained. So the next day I showed up in my wellies and my poncho and my shovel and my sense of humor. And everybody there was having the best day ever because one, we didn't need the shovels. It was, Houston, the ground. It was a mucky mess. So all we had to do was take the tree out of the pot, stand on the root ball, and it would sink into the muck. We were done with that tree and moved on to the next one. So next time you drive down Will Clayton Parkway, look left or right. Those trees are like 20 feet tall now, just because we had a service project one day, bringing people together in the worst weather. Oh my gosh, it was a mucky mess. Then I also served, I was invited, well, I have served as the Zone in Polio Now chair, just like Chuck Mason. I was told by a PDG in my district, who led a national immunization day to India, that we would never eradicate polio in India because he had been there. That's the challenge I wanted. And I accepted that role. And today, India is polio free, and we are down to 2 countries now. Of course, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now I serve on this International Polio Plus Committee as the RI representative on this Rotary Foundation committee. Here's what I can tell you. We vote on the grants. Didn't you ever wonder where all that money goes and who decides? Who, CDC, UNICEF, apply to this committee that I'm on millions of dollars to do their projects to eradicate polio. So here's the decision that came out of the last meeting. Cutting edge. If you want more details, let me know, but it's cutting edge. Optimize outbreak response. If there's an outbreak, we're there instantly. We have teams good to go. It's monitored constantly. Number 2, we will accelerate development of a new polio eradication vaccine. That's necessary now at this stage. Just like COVID, there's reasons to update the vaccines. Number 3, strengthen routine immunization and strengthen immunization delivery systems in high-risk areas. Don't wait for something to happen, have a plan. Ensure sufficient supply of the vaccines, and it's available to reach every at-risk child using innovative strategies as needed. I love being on the cutting edge. This is exciting. So your assignment number 4, continue to contribute to eradicate polio. Go to www.rotary.org. I'm sure somebody will put that in the chat box, and hit the donate button. Okay, here's what is requested: that each district governor and governor-elect commit 20% of their district designated funds. I know the district designated funds are unspent. We can all ask our governors and governors-elect to give 20% of their district designated funds to eradicate polio. Then individually, we're all asked to give $20 per person for polio. I feel very confident that this club and this district is doing that. Each club is asked to give $1,500 more or less to eradicate polio. And we must keep our promise to the world that no more children will get polio. So, becoming our roadmap. 5th stop. This is the last stop. One Rotary Center. That's what we call the Rotary International Headquarters, 1560 Sherman Avenue in Evanston, Illinois. Airport, you fly into O'Hare. My goal or wish is nobody wanted me to be a leader just because I am a woman, and nobody is against my leadership just because I am a woman. This may not be the case, but that is my goal. So I built my Rotary resume. I'm pretty sure you've heard all through it. I've served as a Rotary International training leader. There are 40 worldwide out of 1.2 million Rotarians. I was one of those 40. As a Rotary Leadership Institute lead facilitator, I was one out of 1.2 million people selected for that job. My role as RI director for the coming year, I will be chair of the administration committee, chair of the districting committee, and continue on the International Polio Plus committee. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I want to remind you, before 2018, we had 17 women directors of Rotary International. There are 17 positions. 2 years ago, there were 11% women on the board. This year, there are 37% women on the board. And next year, 47%. Makes me happy. So how is a director selected? This is important because in the past, that might not have been something you thought much about, selecting someone to be on the selection committee. We have paired zones. You heard Becky talk about our zone. A zone has 23 districts, more or less. My territory is from Canada, south, we jump over Oklahoma, most of Texas, all of Central America, gracias a Dios, yo puedo hablar español, thank goodness I can speak Spanish, Venezuela and Colombia. That's our paired zones. So every 2 years, a new director is selected. And we just selected the one that will replace me from Zone 29. And next time, 2 years after that, will be a director selected from Zone 25A, Central America, Colombia, and Venezuela, then back to 29, then 25B, that's us. You select someone for the nominating committee usually at your business meeting of your district conference. Don't just vote for the oldest person or your best friend. You want somebody that will be very aware of what goes into being a director and make the best choice for whoever chooses to put their name in to be director. So don't just think it's no big deal at your district conference when that happens. Mindful. You want to be mindful. That's the word I was searching for. What I wish for each of you is that you give or do your very best, and I wish for the world where my wish comes true and nobody cheers for or against you because you are a woman. So your homework assignment for this part, number 5 on the road trip, pay attention to your opportunities, surround yourself with good people, do not micromanage your teams, and mentor those you identify as a leader. I believe I achieved because of my contributions. With a focus on being the best Rotarian, success is when you achieve because of what you did, not what you were rewarded because you were a woman or denied for the same reason. So I have 2 quotes that I'd like to close with. One is from my Shelley Hill, who's on her counterpart in Central America, Maria Molina, had an interesting quote this week for International Women's Day. Let's keep working for a society where a woman is synonymous with freedom, creativity, and respect. Where to be a woman doesn't pose a risk, a world with more love and less violence, because despite our high and low with the challenges and odds, we are tireless warriors, happy to have a wonderful woman in my life, women who boost me and make me a better person. I just love that all wrapped up. So finally, I'd like to quote Amanda Gorman. You might remember she was the youngest poet at the inauguration. And I loved her words. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Thank you so much for inviting me today. It was a pleasure to think about your club and the activities you do and to join you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suzi. We have a little bit of time for questions if anybody would like to ask one of Suzi.
Cindy, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Becky. Suzi, you've been on the board now, how many years? Just one? One year in? One?
6 months.
Okay. So what has surprised you about when you're serving on the board, when you go to a board meeting? Is there anything that surprised you?
I I backbenched, my class of directors backbenched. We got to attend starting a year ago last January. And taking it all in is a challenge. Now with Zoom, we have directors-elect and directors nominee that are sitting in on our meetings to observe. So the learning process is better. And the communication, because we're meeting monthly, is excellent. I love working with President Holger. He brings a whole new point of view, emphasis on Rotaract, youth exchange. I especially enjoy working with President-elect Shekhar Mehta from India. Some of you might have seen him at Pets yesterday. He is so warm. We couldn't have a better choice for next year also. So being able to interact with so many talented, gifted, warm people is a plus. Thank you for asking, Becky.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question also, Suzi. You're involved with the Rotary International Convention coming up in Houston in 2022. I've never been to one. So what are some advantages of going since we're going to be so close?
Well, usually I would have to say, do you have your passport? Okay. And y'all are invited to my house, no problem. I keep telling my husband, Bill, I just invited everybody to our house. You couldn't ask for more fun, and you can talk to anybody. You're walking down the sidewalk, you look over and you see their name tag, they're from Nepal, and all of a sudden you've got a conversation going. Just as a funny aside, I'll get back to that because that's a great question. When I was going to be president of my club, Space Center sent me to the International Convention in San Antonio. When I was going to be governor, my district sent me to the International Convention in Salt Lake City. So last year, the International Convention was supposed to be in Hawaii, and that was going to be 2 weeks of fully paid trip. Canceled, went virtual. This year it's in Taipei, virtual. And next year it's in Houston. So what can I tell you? There will be pre-events. Check the calendar and see what you want to sign up for. It's wonderful. There's a peace conference that's a pre-event. There will be youth exchange, I'm sure, that's a pre-event. All of the breakouts, you don't want to leave. You want to attend breakouts left and right and be strategic about that also, so that you can bring back all the best information. You may find speakers at the International Convention you want to invite to Beaumont, Texas. What else could I tell you? You sit in the, George R. Brand, and I think part will be in Minute Maid, but you're just part of a huge group every day where you start the day or midday. You have entertainment. I have no idea what it is. The speakers are fascinating. Jason Brown was a speaker last year, and we've invited, I think Toronto, we've invited him to our Zone Institute in Houston in September. So the speakers are just fascinating. I don't know if there's, well, everybody should go to the International Convention in Taipei. It's not in Taipei, the virtual International Convention now. I think there's a minimal cost, and you can get a good feel for what's going on.
Suzi, I have a question about that. Like Cindy, I've not been to an international convention, and when I thought about it, it seems overwhelming. Is it easy to navigate your way through an international convention?
Yes, yes. Everything is informal. You get headsets. So if someone is speaking in another language, you put your headset on. Navigating, where to go. Yes, I think they call them the plenary sessions. The big sessions, everybody goes to the gathering place, which would either be George R. Brown or Minute Maid Park. Everything is in with walking distance there. People from out of town that are, all you out-of-towners that stay at a hotel get a room early. And there's a bus route transportation. You get on the bus in front of the hotel or nearby and come in and go back. And so you might have someone in your club determine where y'all can stay together in a hotel. Sometimes that's fun because you compare notes and then you head out in your separate direction. Easy to navigate. Yeah, there's a program. Study the program ahead of time. Don't just show up. But everybody, there's sergeants at arms everywhere. Just like a district conference with sergeants at arms. They're international, and some will say, I speak English or I speak French. But they're there to help you find things and answer your questions.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Oh, well, I want to add something there. The first international convention that we went to, we were on the bus. Where was that? Was that South America? Buenos Aires. And so we were on the bus trying to find, or the bus that would take us to the meetings. And do you remember that, Susie? Did you have any bus experiences?
Well, not in Buenos Aires. I didn't go to Buenos Aires, but
okay.
Yes.
The drivers were from all around, I mean, not in Buenos Aires, and they didn't know the city, and they didn't know where things were. So we spent hours going around and around. So that was our first Rotary International Convention. But what I realized was, y'all, most of you know Chuck Mason. I sat there going, golly, everybody's like Chuck, you know, like they could talk, just talk, and just so excited, you know, and I just sat back going, wow, I didn't realize that. That was before I was Rotarian.
Actually, she kept saying, come back and sit down, you're making a fool of yourself.
When last year when I went to Hamburg, Germany, I had never mastered the transit systems anywhere. That was my husband's job, but he didn't go with me to Hamburg. The proudest thing I did was to figure out how to read the signs in the subways, get on the right train, get off at the right time. And usually there were Rotarians on, so you could kind of turn and say, are you coming or going? And then you'd know if you were headed the right direction. All kinds of fun things and stories you won't believe. People you meet, you can go do projects with them. You know, you talk about international projects. It's just, you sit down for meals with, you'll be sitting at a table and you'll turn to somebody else because everything's packed. You sit with people you don't know. Get over it. But you'll turn to the person on the left or the right and start a conversation with them. And all of a sudden you've got a new friend in Chile.
I'd like to throw in something there, Angela, from that standpoint. I did my convention in Scotland, and thanks to the club that sent me there. But it really brings home the international aspects of Rotary to you, and that it's not just your little local club, and the polio efforts and things like that take on new meaning. And likewise, even Robert said, you know, this would be a great way to see countries that you might not want to do on your own. Everybody in Scotland was so friendly, and they'd see your name tag and it's, oh, you're a Rotarian, come to the front of the line, you know, let me get a seat for you. It was just a fabulous adventure and something you should do.
We have time for one more question if anybody wants to jump in.
I would like to ask Susie, what is coming up in September that we all should know about?
It's an opportunity to volunteer. To be a district governor, you have to go to GETS, Governor-elect Training. Our Governor-elect Training this fall will be in Houston at the Royal Sonesta Hotel. You have to, if you're a Governor-elect, who would that be? Demetris? Her whole class of governors-elect have to attend. If they can't come a particular week that we're hosting, then they have to go someplace else. Because from there, they go to the International Assembly for training as a governor. Used to be in San Diego. Next year it will be in Orlando. Fully paid. I might get to go there.
Okay, so the Zone Institute that other people can go to that follows the governor-elect training. That's what I was asking about. The Zone Institute.
Okay. There's two aspects. One is training for district membership chairs, district foundation chairs, and district public image chairs. And that would be all the way from Canada south. Then the Institute is Friday, starting with Lunch with Jen, you know, Jennifer Jones, and goes through Sunday. And it's all kinds of information on Rotary, all kinds of experiences, projects that you could easily attend and enjoy.
So that's open to any Rotarians that would like to participate, right?
Yes. I think
Zone is like,
no.
Zone Institute is like a mini international convention. And it's great speakers, and you just hear the thought leaders in Rotary around the world. And it's really something that, because we're so close, because it's going to be in Houston, I really encourage people to consider going to it this year. It's September, early in September. I can't remember the dates, but
I think it's could be the 7th. I'll look
yeah,
at
something like that.
Right, and registration is open on that, Becky.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you. Hi, John.
I saw you, John.
Thank you so much today for inspiring us, Suzi. This has been such a fun meeting, and you have such great stories, and you just do so much good in the world, and it really has inspired, I think, many of us to go out and try to do some of the similar things. In your honor, we will be making a donation to End Polio Now, one of your favorite places to give money to. And we just thank you again for all you've done for us with this Women in Rotary series that we've done, and for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I jumped right on you on the Zoom. A couple of announcements to the rest of the club while you're here. Remember to read your weekly Rotarygrams to stay up with information. They're chock full of great information in those in that club bulletin. And we have a busy schedule for the rest of March. March 25th. Keep that on your calendar for the Layette Project. That's in 5:30 in the evening at the Elegante, so we can send those to Nicaragua. Take care of some of those women that Suzi mentioned. Also, we have an opportunity on March 29th. First, we'll go put out flags on March 29th, and then they can use about 10 of us to help with the vaccination project for a special needs clientele group that will be doing a drive-through type clinic at the Beaumont Civic Center. So that will be an opportunity to serve also. So thank you all again for attending and being part of this annual Women in Rotary celebration today. I want to especially thank Jennifer Gregory for her leadership in planning and coordinating this program. Thank you to Joanne Brown for gathering together a tremendous group of women leadership from our club to present that beautiful poem. And then thank you, Lois Ann, our first female president of the Beaumont Rotary Club, for joining us today and participating in the program. So let's end with the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third, will it
build goodwill and better friendship?
And fourth, will it be
beneficial
to
all concerned?
Have a good week. Go out and find opportunities to lead and serve. Thank you all.
Thanks for coming, Suzi.
Thank you, Cindy.
It's
so great to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.